The great chamber floated in space like a massive ring of light. Inside, thousands of aliens sat in their designated seats. Some had scales, others had fur, and some looked like they were made of living crystal. They were the Galactic Council, the rulers of known space. And today, they were judging humanity. Jiho Park stood alone on the speaking platform. The human ambassador wore his formal black suit, though it felt too heavy now. Around him, holographic displays showed Earth and its colonies. Red markers highlighted human settlements across 12 star systems. The council called them aggressive expansions. Jiho called them homes. Elder Vorath raised one of his 8 legs. The spider-like alien was ancient and powerful. His voice echoed through the chamber like grinding metal. Ambassador Park, humanity has violated the colonization treaties. Your species has grown too fast, too strong. This threatens the balance we have maintained for 10,000 years. Jiho took a deep breath. Elder, we followed every law. We settled empty worlds. We traded fairly. We asked for nothing except a chance to grow. But Vorath was not listening. Neither were the thousands of council members. Jiho could see it in their eyes, in the way they whispered to each other. This decision was already made before he even spoke. On the human vessel Indomitable, Captain Hyun Kim watched the proceedings on the main screen. His bridge crew sat in tense silence. Hyun's hands gripped the armrests of his command chair. He was a military man, not a politician, but even he could smell the trap closing around humanity. "Sir, this does not look good," said his first officer quietly. Hyun nodded. "No, it does not." Back in the council chamber, the voting began. The holographic board lit up with thousands of lights. Green meant support for humanity. Red meant punishment. Within seconds, the board turned almost completely red. The final count appeared: 6,147 votes for sanctions, only 153 against. The chamber erupted in alien sounds. Some cheered, some made clicking noises, others simply sat in cold silence. Jiho felt his stomach drop. Everything they had built, everything they had worked for, was being taken away. Vorath read the sentence. Humanity will dismantle 80% of its fleet. All colonies established in the past 20 years must be abandoned. Monitoring stations will be placed in the Sol system. Trade restrictions will begin immediately. You have 60 days to comply. 60 days. 2 months to destroy everything. Jiho wanted to scream. He wanted to argue. But he was one human among thousands of aliens. His voice meant nothing here. He bowed his head and left the platform. Later, in his small quarters on the council station, Jiho sat in darkness. His communicator buzzed. It was a message from an old friend, a minor council member from a small species called the Luminary. The message was brief but shocking. Jiho, I am sorry. The vote was rigged. 3 major species planned this months ago. They want your territory. They want humanity gone. Be careful. Jiho read the message 3 times. Rigged, planned. They want humanity gone. He pulled up secret files his intelligence contacts had sent him. Names appeared on his screen. The Kelthrians, a warrior race that wanted Earth's mineral-rich colonies. The Vexori, traders who saw humans as competition. The mantid hives who simply hated mammals. These 3 species had spent months convincing others that humanity was dangerous. They had spread lies and made secret deals. The Council's justice was not justice at all. It was murder dressed in legal words. On the science vessel Horizon, Dr. Mina Lee studied biological data from the 3 conspirator species. Something was wrong. Something she could not quite explain. Their genetic patterns showed unusual similarities, almost like they were connected somehow. She saved her findings and sent them to Jiho. Maybe it would help. Maybe it would not. Back on the Indomitable, Hyun received new orders from Earth Command. Hold position. Do not engage. Wait for further instructions. But Hyun knew what was coming. He had studied history. He knew what happened to peaceful species who let others push them around. They disappeared. Jiho sent one final message to Earth before communications were restricted. It was addressed to Premier Daeho Choi, Earth's leader. The message contained all the evidence of the conspiracy. Every name, every secret deal, every lie the Council had used. Sir, Jiho wrote, they did not judge us fairly. They fear us and want us gone. We have 60 days before they destroy everything we built. The choice is yours, but know this. They will not stop with sanctions. They want us erased from the galaxy. On Earth, in the great government complex in Auckland, Premier Daeho read Jiho's message. Around him sat military leaders, scientists, and representatives from every nation. The room was silent as they watched the Council's vote replay on screens. Fleet Admiral Taeyang Song spoke first. We have options, not good ones, but options. Premier Daeho looked at the evidence. Then he looked at the faces of Earth's leaders. Fear was there, yes, but also anger, and something else. Something humanity had carried since ancient times. Defiance. Call an emergency summit, Daeho said quietly. Contact every colony, every ship, every station. 60 days is not much time, but it is enough. Enough for what, sir? Asked one general. Daeho's eyes were cold. Enough to show the galaxy what happens when you try to cage humanity. In the council chamber, Vorath and his allies celebrated their victory. They thought humanity would comply. They thought humans were like other species, weak and obedient when faced with superior numbers. They were wrong. In space, on a dozen human vessels, captains received encrypted orders. Weapons were checked, shields were tested, crews prepared for something their governments had hoped would never come. War. Jiho Park sat alone on the council station and watched Earth through his window. Somewhere down there, 73 years of peaceful cooperation was ending. Something new was beginning, something the galaxy was not ready for. Humanity had tried peace. The council had answered with chains. Now humanity would answer with fire. 3 weeks passed like a countdown to extinction. The Council's monitoring ships arrived in human space, watching and waiting for compliance. But Earth was not preparing to surrender. Earth was preparing for something else entirely. The Auckland Summit Complex held 5,000 people. Every nation sent their leaders. Every colony sent representatives. Military commanders stood beside scientists. This was not just a government meeting. This was humanity deciding its future. Premier Daeho Choi stood at the main podium. He was not a tall man, but his presence filled the enormous room. Behind him, screens showed the evidence Jiho had sent, names of conspirators, records of secret meetings, proof that the Council's judgment was nothing but a mask for theft. They gave us 2 choices, Daeho said, his voice carrying to every corner. Comply or be destroyed, but I say there is a third choice. We fight. The room erupted in voices. Some shouted agreement. Others called for caution. Many simply sat in shocked silence. Fight the Council? Fight an alliance of thousands of species. It seemed like madness. Commander Yuna Han stepped forward. She was Earth's top intelligence officer, the woman who had uncovered the conspiracy. She activated new displays showing trade routes and military positions. The Council is not as united as they pretend, Yuna explained. Most species voted for sanctions because they were lied to. Only 3 species actually want war with us. The Kelthrians, Vexori, and Mantid hives. These 3 have been planning to divide our territory among themselves. She pulled up intercepted communications. Alien voices spoke in their languages, but the translations were clear. They talked about human colonies like prizes to be won. They discussed how to split Earth's resources. They even debated whether to keep humans as workers or simply eliminate them completely. The room went silent. This was not politics anymore. This was survival. Fleet Admiral Taeyang Song took the podium next. He was old, with gray hair and scars from the colony wars decades ago. He had hoped to retire in peace. That hope was dead now. "We are outgunned," Taeyang said bluntly. "The three conspirator species have fleets 10 times larger than ours. Add in their allies and the numbers get worse. But numbers are not everything." He activated a hologram showing a human warship. Then he activated another display showing Council vessels. The differences were obvious. Council ships were huge, powerful, and slow. Human ships were smaller, faster, and more agile. "We have advantages they do not expect," Taeyang continued. "Our ships use reverse-engineered Council technology. We improved it, made it faster, more efficient. In direct combat, one human vessel can match 3 of theirs. In guerrilla warfare, we can do even better." Across the room, military officers nodded. They had been preparing for this possibility ever since humanity joined the Council. Nobody had wanted war, but nobody had been foolish enough to assume peace would last forever. Jiho Park stood and asked for permission to speak. Daiho nodded. The ambassador looked tired. The betrayal had hurt him deeply. He had believed in the Council. He had trusted them. "I spent 5 years working with these species," Jiho said quietly. "I ate with them. I learned their customs. I thought we were building something good, but I was wrong. The Council does not want partners. They want servants. Species who obey without question." He paused and looked around the room. "We are not servants. We never will be. If we comply with these sanctions, they will come back with more demands, then more, until there is nothing left of humanity except memories." Dr. Mina Lee raised her hand. The scientist looked uncomfortable in the political setting, but her information was too important to ignore. "I have been studying the 3 conspirator species," Mina said. "There is something strange. Their biology shows patterns that should not exist. I believe they have some kind of symbiotic relationship. They may even share genetic material across species boundaries." This caused murmurs throughout the room. Cross-species genetic sharing was rare and usually indicated ancient biological engineering. "What does this mean?" someone asked. Mina shook her head. "I do not know yet, but it might give us an advantage. If they are biologically connected, they might share weaknesses as well as strengths." For 6 hours, the summit debated. Some argued for diplomacy. Others wanted immediate military action. A few suggested abandoning everything and fleeing to unexplored space. Finally, Premier Daiho called for a vote. The question was simple: comply with Council sanctions or reject them and face the consequences. The vote was not even close. 4,873 voted to reject the sanctions. Only 127 voted to comply. Humanity had chosen defiance. Daiho immediately gave orders. All human colonies were placed on high alert. Civilian ships were recalled to protected zones. Military forces began moving to strategic positions. Scientists were ordered to develop any weapon, any technology that might give humanity an edge. On the Indomitable, Captain Hyun received the news with mixed feelings. War was coming. People would die, ships would burn, but at least humanity would die fighting, not kneeling. "All crew, this is the captain," Hyun announced over the ship's communication system. "Earth has rejected the Council's sanctions. We are now at war. I will not lie to you. The enemy has more ships, more weapons, more resources, but they have never fought humans before. They think we will break easily. Let us show them how wrong they are." The crew cheered. It was not a happy sound. It was the sound of people accepting a terrible burden. In his office, Premier Daiho prepared the message that would change everything. It would be broadcast to every species in the galaxy. Some would ignore it. Some would laugh. But some would listen. And that would be enough. The message was recorded and sent. Within hours, every major world in the galaxy received it. To the Galactic Council and all who hear this message, Deho's voice was calm but firm. Humanity rejects your unjust sanctions. We came to you in peace. We followed your laws. We sought only coexistence. You answered with treachery and lies. The message showed evidence of the conspiracy. Names, dates, recorded conversations, everything. 3 species conspired to destroy us, Deho continued. They manipulated your council. They spread lies. They voted to steal our homes and our future. We will not allow this. We do not want war with the galaxy. But we will fight anyone who tries to enslave us. The message ended with words that would echo across space for years to come. We are humanity. You tried to cage us. Now you will learn what we do when cornered. Now you will see our fury. On the council station, Elder Vorath watched the message with his multiple eyes. He felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. The Kelthrians mobilized their fleets. The Vexori prepared their weapons. The Mantid hives rallied their warriors. They still believed numbers would win. They would learn. Humanity was done talking. The Kelthrian mining worlds in the Arcturus sector were considered untouchable. 3 planets surrounded by defensive satellites, orbital fortresses, and patrol fleets. The Kelthrians had built these defenses over 200 years. No one had ever successfully attacked them. Captain Hyun Kim was about to change that. The Indomitable led a strike force of 40 human vessels through dark space. They moved silently, engines cold, using gravitational slingshots around dead stars to avoid detection. It took them 12 days to reach attack position, 12 days of silence and tension. Lieutenant Bora Shin sat at her tactical station studying the enemy defenses. She was young, only 26, but her mind worked differently than others. She saw patterns where others saw chaos, and she had found a weakness. "Captain, I have an idea," Bora said quietly. "The Kelthrian defense grid is automated. It responds to threats based on programmed patterns. But what if we make it think we are Kelthrian ships?" Hyun turned to face her. "Explain." Bora pulled up a schematic. "We captured Kelthrian identification codes 3 months ago. If we broadcast those codes and approach from the patrol route, the defense grid will read us as friendly. By the time they realize the mistake, we will be inside their perimeter." It was risky. If the Kelthrians had changed their codes, the entire fleet would be destroyed before they fired a shot. But war was risk. And this was their best chance. "Do it," Hyun ordered. The human fleet split into 3 groups. Hyun's force would attack the main fortress. Commander Junho An would hit the northern weapons platform. Captain Sunho Kang would assault the prison station where human colonists were being held. They moved in simultaneously, broadcasting stolen identification codes. The Kelthrian defense grid scanned them, checked the codes, and classified them as friendly. The human ships glided past satellites and weapon platforms like ghosts. When they reached optimal firing range, Hyun gave the order. "All ships, engage!" The Indomitable opened fire first. Railgun rounds tore through the nearest fortress at a significant fraction of light speed. The Kelthrian shields absorbed the first few hits, but human weapons had been specifically designed to overwhelm Council defensive technology. The shields collapsed in seconds. Explosions bloomed across the fortress. Atmosphere vented into space. Kelthrian warriors scrambled to battle stations, but they were too slow. The humans had trained for speed and precision. Every shot counted. Every second mattered. Lieutenant Bora coordinated the tactical strike with cold efficiency. "Target their command center. Now their power core. Hit the docking bay before they launch fighters." The Indomitable's weapons spoke with mechanical precision. Each target exploded exactly as predicted. The fortress began to break apart, huge sections spinning into space. At the northern platform, Commander Junho's fighter squadrons swarmed like angry insects. Human pilots were smaller and more maneuverable than the lumbering Kelthrian craft. They darted between defensive fire, launching missiles at critical points. One Kelthrian commander broadcast on all frequencies. "You are making a terrible mistake. The Council will crush you for this," Junho responded calmly. "The Council already tried to crush us. Now it is our turn." At the prison station, Captain Sunho Kong faced the most difficult task. Human prisoners were inside. Any mistake could kill the people they were trying to save. Sunho's ship, the Defiant, moved with surgical precision. Instead of heavy weapons, they used electromagnetic pulse charges to disable the station's systems without destroying it. The station went dark. Life support remained active, but weapons and shields died. Sunho's boarding teams moved in wearing powered armor. They cut through the hull and swept through corridors. Kelthrian guards tried to fight back, but they were not prepared for human close combat tactics. Centuries of Earth's brutal history had taught humanity how to fight in confined spaces. The guards fell quickly. "Prisoners located," reported the boarding team leader. 347 humans. Most are in good condition. "Get them out," Sunho ordered. "We have 10 minutes before Kelthrian reinforcements arrive." The rescue took 8 minutes. Human prisoners were loaded onto transport ships and evacuated. The boarding teams placed charges throughout the prison station and withdrew. As the last human ship pulled away, the station exploded into fragments. Back at the main fortress, the battle was ending. The Kelthrians had fought bravely, but they had been caught completely by surprise. Their fortress was destroyed. Their northern platform was crippled. Their prison station was gone. And it had taken only 6 hours. Hyun checked casualty reports. 12 human ships damaged. 4 destroyed. About 300 crew dead. Against any other enemy, those losses would have been terrible. Against a supposedly impregnable Kelthrian fortress, they were a miracle. "All ships, withdraw," Hyun commanded. "Jump coordinates transmitted. Go." The human fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind burning wreckage and shocked Kelthrian survivors. News of the attack spread across the galaxy in hours. The Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Elder Vorath's voice shook with rage. "Humanity has committed an act of war. They have attacked without provocation. They must be destroyed completely." But other council members were not so sure. A few had watched recordings of the battle. They had seen how efficiently the humans fought. They had seen the precision and speed. Most importantly, they had seen that humanity could win. The Vexori representative stood. "We must mobilize our combined fleets immediately. Send everything. Show these mammals what happens when they defy us." The Mantid Hive Queen agreed. "Our warriors hunger for battle. We will drown them in our numbers." But Councillor Drexia, the Luminari representative, raised a concern. "Have you considered why they attacked the prison station? They could have left those prisoners. Instead, they risked ships and lives to save them. This tells us something about humanity." "It tells us they are weak," Vorath snapped. "Sentimental and foolish." Drexia shook her glowing head. "No, it tells us they will fight harder than you imagine. Because they are not just fighting for territory, they are fighting for each other." The Council ignored her warning. Orders went out to Kelthrian, Vexori, and Mantid fleets. Gather everything. Mobilize all forces. Crush humanity before they can strike again. On Earth, Premier Deho received reports of the victory. He allowed himself a small smile. The first blow had been struck, but he knew this was just the beginning. Fleet Admiral Taeyang was already planning the next operation. "We hurt them, but they will retaliate. We need to hit them again before they can organize." Commander Yuna's intelligence network had already identified the next targets. Vexori supply depots in the Omega Nebula, Mantid breeding stations in the Scorpius cluster, more strikes, more damage. keep the enemy off balance. Dr. Mina continued her research into the three species' biological connection. She was close to something. She could feel it. A weakness, a vulnerability, something that could turn the tide. On the Indomitable, Lieutenant Bora received a commendation for her tactical planning, but she did not celebrate. She was already studying the next target, looking for the next pattern, the next weakness. Captain Hyun stood on his bridge and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, enemy fleets were gathering. Thousands of ships, millions of warriors, all coming to destroy humanity. Let them come, Hyun thought. Let them learn what it means to fight humans. The galaxy had started this war thinking humanity would collapse quickly. They thought humans would beg for mercy. They thought wrong. Humanity was just getting started. And the galaxy was about to learn that cornered animals were the most dangerous of all. 6 months into the war, the galaxy burned. Fleet Admiral Taiyang Song coordinated attacks from 17 different locations simultaneously. Human forces struck at military bases, supply lines, and communication stations. The Council forces were massive, but they were slow and disorganized. Humanity was smaller, but moved like lightning. Commander Yuna Han sat in her intelligence center on Luna Base, orchestrating chaos across enemy territories. Her team had hacked into Kelthrian military networks. False orders sent their fleets to empty coordinates. Fake intelligence reports caused confusion among Vexori commanders. Mantid Hive communications were corrupted, making their usual coordinated attacks impossible. "Send the virus to the Kelthrian 7th Fleet," Yuna ordered. "Make them think their flagship has been compromised. They will waste 3 days doing security checks." Her team worked efficiently. Every minute of enemy confusion was a minute humanity could use to strike somewhere else. This was not the warfare of honor and glory. This was the warfare of survival. On the science vessel Horizon, Dr. Mina Lee had finally made her breakthrough. The three conspirator species shared more than just political alliance. They shared genetic material through a complex biological network. The Kelthrians provided physical strength. The Vexori contributed intelligence and coordination. The Mantids offered their hive-mind connectivity. Together, they were incredibly powerful. But Mina had found the weakness. "If we disrupt the Vexori coordination," Mina explained to her research team, "the entire network becomes unstable. Without Vexori to connect them, the Kelthrians and Mantids cannot work together effectively." She had developed a biological agent, not a weapon that killed, but one that temporarily shut down Vexori neural pathways. It would incapacitate them for approximately 6 hours without permanent damage. It was enough. The Horizon moved into position near a major Vexori fleet. They released the agent in a dispersal pattern that mimicked natural cosmic dust. The Vexori ships passed through it, their air filtration systems pulling it inside. Within 20 minutes, Vexori crew members began collapsing. Not dead, just unconscious. Their ships drifted helplessly in space. Human vessels moved in and disabled their weapons and engines. When the Vexori woke up, they would be prisoners, not corpses. News of the incident spread. Some council members were horrified that humanity would use biological weapons. Others were relieved that humans showed restraint even in total war. The Vexori themselves were terrified. They had never encountered an enemy who could neutralize them so completely without killing. At the colony world of Sirius Delta, Wing Commander Junho An faced humanity's greatest test. A Mantid war fleet of 300 ships had arrived to destroy the colony. 40 million humans lived on that world. Most were civilians, farmers, teachers, children. Junho had only 37 ships to defend them. "This is Wing Commander An to all defending forces," Junho broadcast. "They outnumber us 10 to 1. Our orders are to hold this world at any cost. Every minute we fight is another minute for civilians to reach the evacuation shelters. Do not give them 1 centimeter of space without making them pay for it. The Mantid fleet advanced in their typical formation, a massive wall of ships designed to overwhelm through sheer numbers. But Junho had studied old Earth naval battles. He knew how smaller forces could defeat larger ones. All ships. Scatter formation, Junho ordered. Make them chase us. Force them to break their wall. The human ships split apart, each heading in different directions. The Mantid fleet, used to fighting in coordinated groups, struggled to adapt. They broke into smaller hunting packs to chase individual human vessels. That was exactly what Junho wanted. Now, he commanded, regroup and hit them in sections. Destroy one group, then move to the next. The human ships came together like wolves, overwhelming isolated Mantid groups before scattering again. The Mantids had numbers, but the humans had speed and tactics. The battle raged for 18 hours. Human ships were destroyed one by one. Junho's own fighter was hit 3 times, but they held. Every hour of fighting meant more civilians reached safety. When Council reinforcements finally arrived, the Mantid fleet withdrew. Sirius Delta was saved. Junho's victory became legendary. He had lost 23 ships and 8,000 crew, but 40 million humans survived because of those 8,000 who gave everything. The turning point came in the Battle of the Mantid Queen's Fortress. The Mantid Hive Queen commanded from a massive battleship surrounded by 600 escort vessels. She had never been threatened. The Mantid species worshipped her as a living goddess. Captain Sunho Kang changed that. Sunho's ship, the Defiant, was already damaged from previous battles. His crew was exhausted. His weapons were running low on ammunition. But intelligence reports said the Hive Queen was coordinating all Mantid forces from her flagship. If she fell, the Mantids would be thrown into chaos. "We only get one chance at this," Sunho told his crew. "One run, full power, maximum speed. Hit the flagship with everything we have." Everyone knew what he was asking. This was a suicide mission. But not one crew member hesitated. The Defiant charged directly at the Mantid formation. 600 ships turned to intercept. Weapons fire filled space like a storm. The Defiant's shields collapsed. Hull plates tore away. Crew compartments vented into space. But Sunho kept pushing forward. The Defiant crashed through the defensive screen like a meteor. It rammed directly into the Hive Queen's flagship at nearly 1/10 light speed. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the Hive Queen's flagship was gone. The Defiant was gone. Sunho and his entire crew were gone. But so was the central coordination of the Mantid war effort. Mantid fleets across the galaxy suddenly became disorganized. Without their queen, the hive mind fragmented. Warriors became confused. Ships stopped following orders. Within days, the Mantid species withdrew from the war entirely, consumed by internal chaos as they fought over succession. On Earth, Sunho Kang was declared a hero. His sacrifice was mourned by billions, but his death achieved something invaluable. It proved humanity could strike at the enemy's heart. Counselor Drexia, who had warned against underestimating humanity, now openly spoke against the war. 6 more council species joined her, declaring neutrality. Cracks appeared in the alliance against humanity. Elder Vorath grew desperate. His carefully planned conspiracy was falling apart. The Mantids were gone. The Vexori were terrified of human biological weapons. Even the Kelthrians were reconsidering after losing multiple fortresses. "Send everything," Vorath commanded. "Every ship, every weapon. We destroy Earth itself." But many council members refused. They had seen the reports. They had watched the battles. Humanity was not breaking. Humanity was getting stronger. Fleet Admiral Taeyang read the intelligence reports with grim satisfaction. The enemy was fracturing. But the cost had been enormous. 23 human colonies destroyed. 3 million dead. Dozens of ships lost. and the war was not over yet. Captain Hyun stood on the bridge of the Indomitable and watched enemy fleet movements. They were gathering for something big, something final. He could feel it coming. "They are going to attack Earth," Hyun said quietly. His tactical officer nodded. "All signs point to a massive assault on the Sol system. They want to end this with one overwhelming strike." Hyun smiled coldly. "Good. Let them come to us. Let them see what happens when they try to destroy our home." Orders went out across human space. Every ship, every station, every armed civilian vessel. All were recalled to Sol. Earth was preparing for the battle that would decide everything. Humanity had proven it could fight. Now humanity would prove it could win. The enemy fleet arrived like a dark storm. 2,000 ships from Kelthrian, Vexori, and their remaining allies. They emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system in a formation that stretched across millions of kilometers. This was their final gamble. Destroy Earth, and humanity would collapse. Fleet Admiral Taeyang Song watched from the command center on Luna Base. Around him, holographic displays showed every human vessel in the system, military warships, armed civilian freighters, even pleasure yachts fitted with whatever weapons their owners could mount. Everyone who could fight had come home. "How many ships do we have?" asked Premier Daeho, who had insisted on being present for humanity's last stand. 1,237 combat-capable vessels, Taeyang replied, plus another 680 civilian craft with improvised weapons. "Almost 2-to-1 odds against us," Daeho said quietly. "Better than I expected." Taeyang smiled grimly. "They have numbers. We have home advantage. Every human in this system knows what they are fighting for." Captain Yun Kim commanded the defensive formation from the Indomitable. He had positioned his forces in layers around Earth. The outer defensive sphere would slow the enemy. The middle layer would break their formations. The inner layer would be humanity's last stand. "All ships, this is Fleet Command," Hyun broadcast. "The enemy has come to destroy our world. They think we will break. They think we will beg. Show them what humanity does when someone threatens our home." The enemy fleet advanced slowly, maintaining their massive wall formation. They expected humanity to scatter in panic. Instead, the human fleet moved forward to meet them. The two forces collided in the space between Mars and Earth. Energy weapons turned the void into a storm of light. Missiles crossed the distance in seconds. Ships exploded on both sides, their debris adding to the chaos. Lieutenant Bora Shin coordinated defensive tactics from the Indomitable. Her screens showed the battle in real time, thousands of ships moving in three-dimensional space. She saw patterns in the chaos, weaknesses in the enemy formation. "Captain, their left flank is overextended," Bora reported. "If we hit them there with concentrated fire, we can fold their entire line inward." "Do it," Hyun ordered. 50 human ships broke formation and struck at the identified weakness. The enemy left flank crumbled under the assault. Kelthrian ships tried to reinforce, but they moved too slowly. The human vessels carved through them like a knife through flesh. On the horizon, Dr. Mina Lee prepared her biological agent for deployment against the Vexori command ships. This time she had refined the formula. It would spread through their communication systems, affecting every Vexori vessel in the battle. "Deploy the agent," Mina ordered. Microscopic drones carried the agent directly to Vexori ships. Within minutes, Vexori commanders began experiencing coordination failures. Orders became confused. Tactical displays showed false information. Their carefully planned assault dissolved into chaos. Wing Commander Junho An led fighter squadrons in desperate close-range combat. His pilots flew between capital ships, targeting weapons and engines with surgical strikes. They were outnumbered, but they fought with the fury of people defending their children. Gold Squadron, "Cover the civilian evacuation ships," Junho commanded. Silver Squadron, with me. We take out that Kelthrian carrier. His fighters swarmed the massive Kelthrian vessel. Point defense systems destroyed half his squadron in seconds. But the survivors pressed the attack, launching every missile they had. The carrier's shields collapsed. Secondary explosions ripped through its hull. The battle raged for 3 days and nights. There was no respite, no pause. Ships fought until their ammunition ran out, then rammed enemy vessels. Crews without weapons used their ships as shields to protect others. On the second day, the Vexori command carrier tried to break through Earth's inner defensive layer. Captain Hyun personally led the counterattack. The Indomitable had taken heavy damage, but its weapons still functioned. "All power to forward weapons," Hyun ordered. "One shot, make it count." The Indomitable fired every weapon simultaneously. The focused barrage hit the Vexori carrier's bridge section. The entire command structure vaporized in an instant. The massive ship drifted helplessly, its crew leaderless and confused. But the cost was terrible. Human ships fell one by one. Brave crews sacrificed themselves to buy time for others. By the end of the second day, humanity had lost over 400 vessels. The enemy had lost over 1,000. On the third day, something unexpected happened. 12 council species that had been sitting on the sidelines suddenly entered the battle. But they did not attack humanity. They attacked the Kelthrian Vexori Alliance. Counselor Drexia broadcast on all frequencies. "Enough! This war was built on lies. We will not allow genocide in the Council's name." The new arrivals were not many, only 200 ships. But they tipped the balance. The enemy fleet, already battered and demoralized, began to retreat. The Kelthrians fought to the end, their warrior culture refusing to accept defeat. But the Vexori withdrew, their coordination permanently disrupted. By the end of the third day, the Battle of Sol was over. The enemy fleet had been destroyed or driven away. Earth stood intact. Humanity had survived. The cost was staggering. 600 human ships lost, 50,000 crew dead, orbital installations damaged. But they had won. On the council station, Elder Vorath was arrested by the council's own security forces. Evidence of his conspiracy had become undeniable. The Kelthrian, Vexori, and Mantid leadership faced tribunals for war crimes. Counselor Drexia led a movement to dissolve the old council. "The Galactic Council has failed," she announced. "It became a tool of oppression. We need something new, something better." 42 species joined her in forming the new Galactic Assembly. The new organization would have no supreme authority. Each species would have equal voice. Decisions would require consensus, not just majority vote. And humanity was invited as a founding member. Premier Daiho addressed the new assembly in his first speech. "We did not want war. We wanted peace. But we will never accept peace that requires us to surrender our dignity. We offer the galaxy partnership, not domination, justice, not revenge." His words were met with approval from most species. A few, mainly former allies of the conspirators, remained hostile. But they were a minority now. Jiho Park, who had watched humanity's suffering from the council station, was elected as one of the Assembly's 5 co-directors. The diplomat who had been powerless to stop the war would now help prevent future ones. Fleet Admiral Taeyang oversaw the creation of a joint defense force. Species who had fought against each other would now train together. The new force would exist not to conquer, but to defend against aggression. Captain Hyun Kim retired from active service. He spent his remaining years teaching naval strategy at the Academy on Mars. Officers from dozens of species studied his tactics. The battles he had won became required learning for anyone who wanted to understand modern warfare. Dr. Minali founded the Institute for Interspecies Understanding. Her biological research had saved countless lives by finding non-lethal solutions to conflict. Now she would use science to build bridges instead of weapons. Commander Yuna Han reformed galactic intelligence practices. The new system would prevent secret conspiracies like the one that had started the war. Transparency became the watchword of the new era. Lieutenant Bora Shin, the young tactical officer whose insights had saved thousands, became Fleet Admiral at age 35. She was the youngest person ever to hold that rank, but no one questioned her qualifications. On Earth, memorials were built in every city. Names of the fallen were carved in stone that would last forever. The largest memorial stood in Auckland, near where humanity had voted to fight rather than surrender. The inscription read, "They tried to cage us. They tried to break us. They tried to erase us. Instead, they taught the galaxy that humanity's greatest strength is not our weapons. It is our refusal to surrender who we are." 10 years after the war ended, Jiho Park stood at that memorial. He was old now, his hair completely gray. Around him, humans and aliens walked together. Children of different species played in the gardens. It was what he had always dreamed of. Was it worth it? Someone asked. It was Counselor Drexia, visiting Earth for a diplomatic summit. Jiho considered the question. 3 million dead. Entire colonies destroyed. Years of suffering. But humanity was free. The galaxy was changing for the better. Species were learning to respect each other rather than dominate. Yes, Jiho said finally. It was worth it. Because we proved something important. We proved that freedom matters more than peace, that dignity cannot be negotiated away, that people who fight for what is right can change the universe. Drexia nodded, her luminescent form glowing softly in the evening light. The council wanted servants. Instead, they created leaders. Humanity forced the galaxy to be better than it was. In space, patrol vessels from a dozen species worked together to protect trade routes. In academies, students from hundreds of worlds studied together. In laboratories, scientists collaborated on projects that would have been impossible before. The war had been terrible, but what came after was worth the sacrifice. Humanity had come to the stars seeking a place to belong. The galaxy had tried to destroy them for daring to exist. Instead, humanity had transformed the galaxy into something better. They had not conquered through strength alone. They had won through courage, sacrifice, and the stubborn refusal to abandon what made them human. The galaxy would never forget the lesson, and humanity would never stop teaching it.